right, I'm Doug Whitman. I'm a member of the Ohio Young Birders Club. I'm here tonight with Jim McCormac. He's involved in a lot of different things, both birding and nature related, so I'll let him explain that right quick.
Well, lots of things to cover. The big one on my mind right now is Earth Day. This is Earth Day, April 22nd, which started in 1970, and it's a big day, and I'm going to give a talk about Earth Day and cover a lot of bases tonight. So that's what I've been thinking about lately. That's a small project. A bigger project that I'm immersed in and have been for some time is a book on wood warblers. Everyone likes warblers, and this is not a field guide to identification. It's a natural history. There's a lot of really interesting aspects to these really ecologically ornate little birds that probably isn't common knowledge, so we want to get a lot of that out in this book. So that's a big one.
All right, so what first really got you interested in nature and birds, and particularly writing and presenting in places?
Well, I think they were just gifts that I was fortunate to have from a young age. I got into birds when I was 6, 7 maybe.
Nice.
What I remember about that is in the 4th grade, kids would bring in bird books and cover up the picture, the name of the bird in the book, and hey, what is this? And I would usually nail them all. So by that age, I was really thoroughly smitten. And same goes for writing. I was really into creative writing and always did well in English classes and things like that at a elementary school level.
I know you write a weekly, I believe, column for the newspaper. So how'd you get involved in that particularly? How'd you land that?
That's a good question, Doug. I appreciate you asking. It's a bi-weekly column. It comes out every other week in the Columbus Dispatch. And I am only the 3rd writer of that column, which has been around for over 90 years. It's got to be one of the longest running columns ever. So I'm really flattered that they tapped me to be the 3rd writer. The first guy did it for 59 years, second guy for 29 years, and then me ever since. But I made a lot of contacts with the paper. Newspapers still have the big barrels of ink, and you can really get your word out via the newspapers, and I wanted to write that column and had made some contacts there, and when the time was right, they plucked me to do it. So it was a lot of luck involved with that, but it's been a wonderful experience.
Also a lot of networking contacts. That's interesting.
Yeah, you always want to network.
Well, I know you do a lot of things in addition to writing books and for the newspaper, so what's sort of the strangest, weirdest occurrence you've ever run into? Just
of any sort?
Yeah, just
this is
something you're doing. You know?
Yeah, this is a G-rated show here, so I'm going to keep it that way. I guess the one thing, and I'm flattered you'd ask me any of these questions and you're interested in this sort of thing, but I would say indisputably the strangest thing about me with my interest, because people know me as a botanist and into birds and all this sort of thing, but I almost went into motorcycle racing at a young age, and I'm still thoroughly addicted to motorcycles and sports cars.
All right, so next is sort of back on the normal track of writing and whatnot. What classes do you think or experiences have helped you the most in your writing?
Well, the School of Hard Knocks has helped me the most for sure, and like I mentioned, the newspaper. But just English courses, but I think writing it's half gift almost, because I think everyone can learn the technicalities of writing well. Grammar, punctuation, all these things. But the best writers really cultivate their imagination. So you can take a bad writer and take an interesting subject and it's hard to read, or you can take a maybe not so interesting subject, put it in the hands of a really good writer, and it's very fascinating. So a lot of it's practice. All this stuff's practice. Birding is practice. Learning plants is practice. Writing is practice. And
practice, all right.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
And I would like to add to that I would love to see more young people really get into natural history writing. There aren't that many good natural history writers. There's a lot of market there, and we need more people doing it. So have at it.
All right. So on that note, you were saying that's probably a really good career option for someone interested in natural history trying to get good at writing. Is there?
It opens up a lot of doors. I think initially, at least, it's going to be hard to make money at it. Mm-hmm. Money's a necessary evil, but it opens up a lot of doors. A good writer is always going to be useful to almost any organization, no matter where the person would go to work. It just helps in every aspect of communication, which ultimately helps people get jobs and all sorts of things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't go wrong.
So in your travels or around here, I know I've heard you're a big Ohio lister. Do you have any particular outstanding nemesis birds that are just no matter what you do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, nemesis bird, he said. What a term that is. It's great. I have a big Ohio list because of longevity. I'm 52 now, and I started chasing birds when I was a little kid. I got my parents to drive me to rarities. So when I was 13 years old, I saw one of only 2 red-cockaded woodpeckers in Ohio because I got my parents to drive me to Old Man's Cave to see it. Nemesis bird, without a doubt, is the tricolored heron, former Louisiana heron. We get them every year. And I haven't seen one in Ohio. It's an embarrassment, basically. You've probably seen it in Ohio.
Yeah, I have.
Have you? Oh,
It's my
man.
199. I don't know how involved or uninvolved, probably very involved in sort of the conservation as well aspect in Ohio.
Oh, yes.
What do you-
Yeah, very much so. Good point. Everyone should be in conservation. This talk tonight, the latter half of it is all about conservation and how everyone can get involved in this particular project. But that's one thing I would love to see bird watchers and the birding community become much more immersed in, because without habitat conservation, we won't have birds. And it's a complex and tricky issue. Now, when you talk about like red-winged blackbirds out here, it's not as hard to conserve those for a number of reasons as it is a cerulean warbler, which I talk about, because these birds, these are the neotropical migrants that are wintering in that case, Colombia and Ecuador, and countries that are very different than us, a lot of different politics. It's really hard to bridge all these gaps and protect species well like that. But the more people who are trying, the better this is all going to go. Whatever best suits the person's interest, they should throw some money into it and see that some more land gets bought. They don't make more land, and you want to protect it while it's still valuable.
I hadn't heard of that before. That's really interesting. So would you say there's slightly off on a tangent here, but would you say there's potential for crowdsourcing in terms of, or like pooling money into?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's lots of ways that I think we could better unite birders for a common cause. Here in Ohio, the Ohio Ornithological Society, which I know you know about, is done some of that. For instance, we raised quite easily, I might add, $10,000 from our membership, which is only about 800 or 900 people, to provide a match to the Nature Conservancy, which they had to have from an outside source. So we gave them $10,000. They put a lot more money into it, to that match, and bought a really neat chunk of property in Adams County, in the edge of Appalachia, that supports lots of interesting birds, including cerulean warblers. So that's one way, birding clubs and organizations can get together, raise money.
Now, so besides buying land or buying stuff, what's just everyday sort of things people could do to help with conservation? Just best sort of things to do there.
Yeah, another great question. Something that we all should think about at least a lot. One of the easiest, best ways is just get people interested. Whenever the opportunity strikes, and that's usually fairly often, and someone expresses any sort of interest in a bird, or a plant, or whatever, help them get interested in it, tell them what it is. I saw this in spades last night with 3 baby barred owls in Walhalla Ravine in Clintonville, in the city of Columbus here, where they were approachable in this urban neighborhood, and word got out, and people were bringing their little kids in strollers, little 7, 8, 9-year-old kids out. Whole families were coming out and going crazy over these little owls. That makes an impression, because if people don't know anything about the environment, they're not going to be likely to want to conserve it. So the first thing to do is to get them interested in it any way possible. So you are now an agent, to advocate for the environment, just like I am and everyone here in this room is. So that's the easiest, best, simplest thing to do.
All right. Well, thanks for your time and interviewing here. I'm looking forward to seeing your program later, and good luck with all your projects.
Good. Thank you, Doug. It's a pleasure talking to you.